What is up, Dallas Cowboys fans? It's Victory Monday, and it is a well-deserved Victory Monday. The Dallas Cowboys tore up the New York Jets yesterday, 30-10, with a final score of 30-10. It was a game pretty much for the defense. That's the word of the day. I'm going to say, because again, we've seen through the first two games, the Dallas Cowboys are outscored the New York Giants and the New York Jets with a total score of 70-10. We're talking about a team that has pretty much given up one big play, offensive touchdown, yesterday. Garrett Wilson, a long touchdown catch from Zach Wilson, just on a quick ball. Again, it was a quick strike, missed tackle. Things like that happen sometimes when a guy's out of position. But we've shown that this defense has literally been the case. And I guess you want to say pretty much just the leading driving force of the Dallas Cowboys through these first two games. The offense did pick it up a little bit. Again, there is a little bit that we can kind of dive into when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. But before we get going, I want you guys to go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment down below. I appreciate all the support.
Once again, the Dallas Cowboys did beat the New York Jets 30-10 yesterday. 30-10. Let's pretty much get started on the simple fact. I guess after starting with week one, of course, the defense and special teams, I guess you want to say, especially under inclement weather, the conditions were not that pretty. We're talking about rain. There were lots of drops. We're talking about specifically through the tight end group. But I guess you want to say the offense to an extent left a lot to be desired, because again, there was a lot of uncertainty. And again, to me, I felt it wasn't really a game where you could really tell what this team is offensively. We do know the defense has been firing on all cylinders. The special teams also has pretty much chipped in and shown their ability. But also at the same time, like I said, we know at the end of the day, the name of the game is who's going to score the most points. The offense now, I guess you want to say, going into week two, again, we're talking about a New York Jets defense that has shown they have many playmakers and guys that can, again, make some plays throughout their entire front seven. And also, we already know what it looks like in the DB room. Also, just Jordan Whitehead, safety, had 3 interceptions against Josh Allen a week ago on Monday Night Football. And then, of course, we do know Sauce Gardner. They have other players, DJ Reed on the other side playing corner. They have some players back there on the DB in the secondary group. So the Dallas Cowboys being able to being able to be efficient and stay on schedule against a defense like that is nothing to sneeze at. We're talking about Dak Prescott is a total of 31 of 38, 255 total yards passing, 2 touchdowns. We also saw him take off and run a little bit. That's the biggest thing I felt we kind of lost over the last few years, especially once Dak started to accrue a few of those just cheap minor injuries. It seems, especially more importantly after the ankle injury, Dak Prescott has not looked confident when it comes to running the ball. And I honestly want to say, when he first became the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback in 2016, that was one of the biggest things. It wasn't like we're talking about Dak Prescott was in the sense of a guy like Michael Vick or Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson, but he was very solid when it came to just getting your yards and getting down or getting out of bounds, just keeping drives going. So being able to see Dak kind of use his legs a little bit more, that was I guess one of those things that Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer had talked about, just throwing it back into the system just a little bit. Now we're talking about picking and choosing. I don't want Dak Prescott running the ball 15 times a game, but if you have 3 or 4 or 5 times where again it's just to keep a drive going, I'm all for it. We're talking about now looking at the running game. Tony Pollard, total of 25 carries, 72 yards. His long of 23. There was nothing spectacular from the run game yesterday. But what it did show was that you were able to just be efficient. Because although it was one guy getting the main, I guess, carrying responsibility like Tony Pollard, you had other guys like Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn. Rico Dowdle was 7 carries for 26 yards. Nothing spectacular, a 3.7 average. Tony Pollard with a 2.9 average. Deuce Vaughn throws in his 3 carries for 16 yards, a 5.3 average. Not many opportunities for a guy like Deuce Vaughn, but the few that he did get, he has shown that he does have, I guess, just a role on this offense. Because again, every single game is going to have different matchups. It's going to have different opportunities and potential for different guys to be able to make plays. Looking at Rico Dowdle, the way Mike McCarthy spoke about him throughout the entire training camp, just the way that he runs hard, the way that he finishes runs. And also, he is one of our better pass blockers from the running back position. Tony Pollard, if anything, again, it wasn't a flashy day, a 2.9 average, nothing crazy, but we're talking about a stout front seven. And again, a guy that just showed he continues to run and run and run. Every game's not going to be pretty. Every game's not going to be 20 carries, 150 yards, or even 100 yards. But what you want to see is your lead guy be able to sustain runs and still stay on schedule. And we do know Tony Pollard also 7 catches for 37 yards out of the backfield. That's big. Now, go back to the receiving game completely. Look at CeeDee Lamb, a guy 11 catches, 143 yards. He showed yesterday that he is the number one guy on a very good team. And he continues to show that he has the ability to be even better. He was not able to get into the end zone yesterday, but what you saw all game long, the New York Jets could not stick with this guy because he moved around a lot. And one thing you're going to notice more, I say especially throughout the tenure of Kellen Moore as the offensive play caller predominantly, Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer, also with Dak Prescott's mind in there a little bit also. You're going to see us, our playmakers especially, are going to be a little bit more schemed for. And I guess that's the number one thing I kind of noticed from the game yesterday. CeeDee Lamb was schemed open multiple times yesterday, and it worked to his wonders. And, of course, we're talking about he's just much better as a route runner. And that's going to be nothing but more dangerous for every team we come across. The passing game, again, there was not anything spectacular. Jalen Tolbert, 3 catches, 18 yards. Also, looking at Michael Gallup, 1 catch for 3 yards. Luke Schoonmaker was able to get his first touchdown catch of his career. Jake Ferguson also with a touchdown catch in that game to start it off. So the tight end group pretty much, and again, if you go back through Mike McCarthy's tenure through with the Green Bay Packers, the tight end position is very important to his offenses, and I'm looking for that to continue going forward. As always, of course, this defense is spearheaded by a monstrous athlete like Micah Parsons with 4 total tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss. Also, Osa Odigizua, who has come on so strong, ends up with another sack in this game. And I'm talking about just big plays after big plays. The biggest, I guess you want to say the worst play of the game for the defense was that 68-yard drag cross kind of type route, which is some of the hardest to guard and to cover if you're playing defensive back. It's more specifically cornerback, because you're having to stay engaged with the receiver without making contact. And then we see a missed tackle and Garrett Wilson is off to the races. But again, the Jets scored 10 points yesterday, so that's pretty much it. All they were able to do offensively. Look at Zach Wilson, throws 3 interceptions. It was not a game that I know he is happy about at all, because he's intercepted by Jaron Kearse, Trayvon Diggs, and also another deep shot he's taking downfield and ends up being intercepted by Malik Hooker, a guy I talk about all the time. He just plays that center field, but that silent center field type role for us. He's not always going to be the guy that's making the splash plays, and you're not always even going to see what Malik Hooker is doing on paper, or sometimes even just film if you just don't know what you're looking for. But he's a guy that plays his role for this team perfectly. We don't need him doing too much. We need him doing exactly what he does. It's perfect. Like I said, this defense pretty much, and I started off in the game originally. One of the first big plays defensively is a guy like DeMarcus Tank Lawrence. Big stop in the backfield in the run game. To me, I felt like that completely just set the tone. The Jets knew this was going to be a game where you're going to have to be completely perfect. And if you're not, we do know Zach Wilson, the ups and downs. We're talking about a top first round pick for the New York Jets. It has not panned out. And of course, that's why they pretty much, bet the whole entire house on a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who unfortunately they lost only 4 games, not even 4 games, 4 plays into his tenure with the New York Jets. So Zach Wilson to me is not a guy for their future, but it is a guy that you're going to be able to say, now, New York Jets, what are you looking to do going forward? Is he going to be your guy that you're going to carry with you? Or are you going to look to make another quarterback type move? Because again, the New York Jets, they do have some talent, but we saw yesterday this Dallas Cowboys defense is just a tone setter. And there's not much you can really do when it comes to that. Because again, just guys that are, again, wasn't really anything crazy or not looking at anything. Because the defense, what this team is built on, is the defense as a whole. But guys like Leighton Vander Esch, guys like Marquise Bell, we're talking about just flying all around, all over the place. The numbers are not going to show if you're going to look at just the stats from yesterday. But there's not really much to speak on. It's just great ball. It was great just to see that this team actually can create a formula. And we're talking about, when I say how efficient the offense tries to move the ball, more about ball control, eating some clock, and of course trying to put up points in the end. But that does nothing but keep these guys fresh. And you see Micah Parsons yesterday gets a sack on a screen play. You don't see that too often, because again, what he did was attack that tackle. And once he gets inside, now Zach Wilson doesn't know what to do, and it throws off everything. And more times than not, you can't fall in love with just the sack numbers. What you need to watch is the QB pressures. This defensive line, and this front seven in general, because Dan Quinn, if he can do anything, he's going to scheme up a pass rush. And the scariest thing the Dallas Cowboys can do is us getting pressure with 4 men only. That's when we seem to do a lot. And that does what? That pretty much leaves the ability for you to leave other guys, more guys in coverage. Especially we're talking about we knew the talent that defensive back room already has. But then throwing in guys like a Damone Clark, we're talking about some of these guys that are going to be able to kind of just be able to find themselves a nice solid role. Because when you do have a lethal pass rush, as the Dallas Cowboys do, that just makes the job easier for the rest of the team. It's just great to see. And I feel like it's just now a starting point, and we have nothing but to improve on, especially going into game next week against the Arizona Cardinals. And let me give a little bit of love to a kicker, Brandon Aubrey. Goes 5 of 5 yesterday, a long of 55, 1 of 1 on his extra points. And that 55-yarder, let's be clear, that ball had some room left to go. What it looks like is Brandon Aubrey is just getting more comfortable with being an NFL kicker, because we did see through training camp, preseason, just inconsistencies. This is one of those things where I'm kind of being nervous, because thinking, of course, there are some veterans still out there on the watch. There were some guys that you possibly could have gotten to take a look at. But this coaching staff obviously felt more comfortable with giving a young guy like Brandon Aubrey, again, just an opportunity to come and show that he does have the potential to be this Dallas Cowboys team's, again, consistent kicker and reliable kicker. And yesterday to me was a great start, and hopefully he can just continue to build on that, because again, the number one thing we're looking for if we're going to play this type of ball that we're playing, efficient ball control, letting the defense pretty much do what they do and us just staying out of the way until it's time to attack, I'm all for that, because Brandon Aubrey is going to be very important. There are going to come drives where we're looking for it, not necessarily just looking to only get 3, but where that might be our best bet, instead of throwing one of those balls that we saw last year in a few of the games that I felt we had under control, whether it's the Packers game, the Jacksonville game, where we're still taking some weird shots that could let the game get out of, lose the control of the game. I feel like Brandon Aubrey is going to be very, very vital. So it was just a good thing, good sighting to see that he actually was being able to find some more, comfort being back there. So great start. I love it, Brandon Aubrey. Keep it going, and hopefully we don't have any more issues with it. Hopefully, we are able to get some guys back here in the next coming weeks. We did finally get to see Jordan Lewis get a few reps in yesterday just to get his feet wet. He was on a little bit of a pitch count, I guess you would want to call it. But also, Chuma Edoga filling in, and then TJ Bass having to step into that left guard position with Tyler Smith not being with the team yet back on the field. We're talking about game reps. So hopefully we're able to get Tyler Smith back in the next coming weeks. And also, let's not forget about Donovan Wilson. He has not been back in the mix yet. We're talking about Brandon Cooks, these injuries, things starting to pile up for a few guys, nothing too major. But Donovan Wilson, being able to throw him back into this DB room, we're talking about a guy with over 100 tackles, playing a little bit more of that, I don't want to say linebacker, but he's more of our X, our weapon. Weapon X is like I'll call him pretty much. He's that Swiss Army knife, that guy that Dan Quinn loves to move around. So hopefully we can get healthy in these next coming weeks, and this team is only going to get better.
The Dallas Cowboys' next game will be against the Arizona Cardinals next Sunday, September 24th at 3:25. The Dallas Cowboys are starting the game as a 12.5 point favorite, but we do know this is any given Sunday. The Arizona Cardinals did put up a fight against the New York Giants yesterday, taking a commanding lead in the first half. It seemed like they remembered that they are in a bit of a tanking situation, and it kind of like they took their foot off the gas. But hopefully the Dallas Cowboys come in there ready to execute, ready to put their pedal to the metal from the first quarter and get that game pretty much under control as soon as possible. Because again, this is any given Sunday. The NFL is a game of inches. You have to go out there and execute. It doesn't matter if a team seems to have less talent than you. You have to go out there and execute. Hopefully the Dallas Cowboys have started to hit a stride. We see the defense has continued to dominate through these first 2 games. Also, the offense seemed to pick up a little bit of steam yesterday. Hopefully we can keep that rolling. I appreciate you guys for the support. Keep liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting down below. You guys are amazing. And go Cowboys.